What's up, guys? Brett Appley here from DailyFanMMA.com, back with another UFC Quick Picks on the Mayo Media Network. We have UFC 290 this weekend, Volkanovski versus Rodriguez in the main event, Moreno versus Pantoja in the co-main event, and 14 fights on the slate. Should be a really fun card. It is a tricky DraftKings card, I will say, because there's so many heavy favorites. It's really tough to find underdogs this week, which we'll get into. But I am going to give you my favorite cash game play, tournament play, salary play, and a matchup I like from a DraftKings perspective. Without further ado, let's get into my cash game play of the week, which is going to be Alexander Volkanovski at 9.2K. Volkanovski at 9.2K is my favorite cash game option. Of course, you can pay up for the Bo Nickel, Jack Della Maddalena types, which I don't think is wrong either. But Volkanovski still projects very well, minus 368 to win against Yair Rodriguez. A very well-rounded fighter, the ability to strike for 5 rounds. I also think this is a really good spot for him to mix in takedowns as well. Yair has given up takedowns to nearly all of his opponents: Josh Emmett, Brian Ortega, Max Holloway, took him down 3 times. Frankie Edgar destroyed him on the mat back in 2017. That was a long time ago. But I do think Volkanovski has a path to victory on the ground as well as on the inside, as with his boxing, and over 5 rounds. It's just, he's going to produce a lot of offense, and he saves you $600 off the top. So Volkanovski is a really strong cash game target in my opinion. I almost gave out Yair Rodriguez as my cash game play of the week, because the thing is, we are so desperate for salary savings on this card, and the fighters priced below Yair are Woodburn, Harrell, Shirez, Mitchell, Gomes, and these fighters, especially the bottom 4, have just a really slim chance to win and to produce any points. And even fighters priced above Rodriguez are Duplessis and Prachniow and Lawler and Hooker, who might score very, very few points as well. So the salary savings you get on Yair Rodriguez, it makes a lot of sense to play him both in cash and in tournaments. I think there's a legit possibility that we have a loser on the winning tournament lineup this week just based on pricing and how many favorites versus underdogs win. So I don't mind the stack in cash this week on the main event. You could even argue to play Yair solo and pay up for the top guns as favorites, but Volkanovski still projects as one of the safest plays on the card. I really like him for his price, and I also think you can use Rodriguez for salary savings at 7K. All right, moving on to my tournament play of the week, I'm going to give out Vitor Petrino at 9K. This one will be a bit of a risk, but I do like the upside we have with Petrino against Marcin Prachniow. Petrino's minus 236 to win, coming off a competitive victory against Anton Turkalj in his UFC debut. And quite honestly, I don't rate Petrino that highly, like as a prospect. He's got some knockout power. He can clearly wrestle a little bit offensively, but his defense everywhere is pretty suspect, and I would bet against him like in the long term. I wouldn't be totally shocked if Marcin Prachniow survived and kickboxed his way to a decision win here, but the thing with Prachniow is that while he's won 3 of his last 4 fights, I mean, let's not forget he was put out cold 3 times in a row to start his UFC career, and he just does not have great durability. He was also recently out-wrestled by Felipe Lins. I think Petrino has early knockout upside, and I also think he has wrestling upside. And he's minus 160 to win inside the distance, which is an elite number, especially for 9K. On a different slate, Petrino would be very popular. On this slate, priced between Whitaker and Volkanovski and Jalen Turner and Moreno, I'm not so sure Petrino ends up as the chalk or anything close to it. Again, I don't mind paying up to the 9K range, to the upper 9K range. There's great options there, but if you need to save some salary, I think Petrino has a nice mix of KO upside, wrestling equity, great metrics, and price and ownership. So 9K, I think Petrino's hopefully going to test the chin of Prachniow early. That's the upside I'm looking for him. And he is going to be my tournament play of the week. All right, moving on to my salary play of the week. I'm going to go out on a limb here with Kemuela Kirk at 7.7K. He is one of only a couple, tightly lined underdogs plus 125 to win, and he really hasn't looked that great in the UFC, to be honest. I don't have much faith in him. Against Ribovic, I think if this fight plays out in the feet, Ribovic can definitely knock him out. Kemuela Kirk has shown to kind of slow in fights, and Ribovic just, pushed the gas pedal against Radzhabov in his last fight, almost knocked him out, ended up losing that fight. So this is not a spot where I feel very comfortable with Kemuela Kirk winning. However, Ribovic gave up 11 takedowns in his UFC debut. He does not defend takedowns well, and that's something you should probably bet against from a macro perspective. And yeah, Kemuela Kirk didn't easily out-wrestle Damon Jackson. He didn't easily out-wrestle Makwan Amirkhani. But, those are two really good offensively minded grapplers, and I wouldn't think that offensive grappling would be his path to victory in those fights. On the Contender Series, he did out-grapple Billy Quarantillo, took him down a couple times early on, took his back, won the first round easily. And I think he projects to land multiple takedowns in this fight as well. He's a black belt in jiu-jitsu. He's comfortable on the ground, and Ribovic is a step down clearly from Makwan Amirkhani and Damon Jackson in terms of an offensive grappling threat. So am I comfortable with Kirk? No, but he has a clear path to takedowns in my mind. And even if this fight plays out in the feet, Kirk has a 6-inch reach advantage. He's a comfortable distance striker. I don't love his metrics, but it's not like 2 minutes on the feet is going to lead to a knockout. Kirk could play it relatively safe. Ribovic has been hurt before. Again, Kirk can mix it up with the takedowns. He's only plus 125 to win. We are so desperate for salary savings here. Kirk can save you salary, 7.7K. Can help provide a 6-win equity construction, and that's something I'm willing to buy into on this particular slate. So I think this is a decent bounce back spot for Kirk, 7.7K. He'll be my salary play of the week. And finally, my matchup of the week, it's going to be Jimmy Crute versus Alonzo Menafield. This is a rematch from a draw in February in which Crute landed 6 takedowns, Alonzo Menafield landed 2 knockdowns, and they both got tired and it went to decision, which is the downside here. I guess that could happen again, but what I really saw in that fight is Menafield is a way better striker, so much more dangerous than Crute, and Crute doesn't really have durability. Anytime Crute got hit, he was nearly knocked out, and I wouldn't have really blamed the ref if they had stopped it. I forget if it was round 1 or round 2, but Crute was hurt very badly, and I think there's a good chance Menafield can hurt him again. And on the other side of the coin, Crute was clearly the better grappler, landed 6 takedowns on 12 attempts, set nearly 8 minutes of ground control, almost finished Menafield a couple times on the mat. That's his path to victory here. That's going to score well on DraftKings. If he had won that decision, he would have scored 93 points. He has a 100-plus point upside if he can produce an early finish. He's plus 145 to win inside the distance. I'm going to have moderate exposure to Crute on this slate. Menafield, on the other side, has early knockout upside. Almost all of his wins have come in round 1 by knockout. He's also plus 145 inside the distance. He clearly can hurt Crute in this spot. I think he'll be lower owned than Crute on DraftKings. And ultimately, the fight's minus 325 to end inside the distance. A finish on either side would produce a good score. Again, I lean toward the grappling and Crute, but this is a fight I want to be invested in. It's going to be my matchup of the week. All right, guys, that's it for this week's UFC Quick Picks. Thank you again for the support. You can follow me on Twitter, Brett Appley, TTPP, dailyfanmma.com for all your DraftKings breakdowns needs. Best of luck in your contest this week. Take care, stay safe, everyone, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.